Hello everyone, it's Sandy, and I'm just prepping my stuff for the sky tip. And what I want to show you first is that your skies can have very different looks based upon the blue, where's my other blue, color that you use. This particular blue is cobalt blue, which is pretty standard in skies, and that's what we're using today. So if you live, pretty much in the US, most of our skies are going to be that color. Now, French ultramarine is another blue, but it's got a little bit of red in it, so it looks colder. So if you're in a cold climate or you want to project cold, French ultramarine is a good color to start with. And then there's cerulean. If you're trying to paint somewhere like Hawaii, cerulean is has a green tint to it, even though it's not going to look green to you, but it's a very warm color. So it's a great one that I use when I'm doing something in the tropics or I want to, Hawaiian type style. A lot of my seascapes use cerulean, right? So in the meantime, I also have alizarin crimson, which is one of my favorite colors, and I like the Winton alizarin better than I do the others. And then I also have, this one is Hansa Yellow Medium. You can use a standard cadmium yellow medium. You can even go cadmium yellow light, because these are going to get white added to them. But you notice it's not just blue, right? Skies generally do not have just one flat color. Even if it is just blue with no clouds, you're going to have a variety of colors. And on my palette, I'm mixing a few different colors to put in this sky here that we're going to create. All right. Some of the colors I use for clouds, some of the colors I use for the sky itself in the background. I accidentally grabbed my good white and I didn't mean to do that. I like to use my base colors. I like to use the cheaper paints and then go over them with better paint so that I don't waste my expensive paint. Keep in mind, I'm on a budget. The first thing I want to do, I want to show you how I create the multi-layered sky. So, first thing I have to do is create a horizon line. I don't know, it doesn't really matter what paintbrush I use for this, I guess. I tend to not draw with a pencil. I tend to draw with paint. So just be aware of that. You can do however you want, but I have mixed 3 different blues. There's 3 different layers of color. And we're going to start with the horizon line, and we're going to start with the lightest color. Why do I start with the lightest color? Just ask yourself that question. See if you can answer it. That tells me where my light color is going to go. All right, so now I have my horizon line. I'm going to paint a sky with no color. No, what's the word I'm looking for? No clouds. All right. Let me grab a stiff brush, and I'm going to just pick up some blue on my brush. Not much, right? Very little. And I'm going to scrub it. When you put in your sky, paint it lightly. Do not put a lot of paint on your canvas, because the more paint you have on your canvas, the harder it's going to be for you to blend other colors in without creating mud. So it's like I just want to cover up the canvas. See how light this is? It's showing the canvas through. A little bit more paint fills in all the things and covers that canvas, so I don't have a little checkerboard there. Just started off. with dark. One of the other things I like to do is I don't like my sky to be flat, same all the way across. I will start that way, but you will see I will slowly add color as we go. And I'm just kind of shoving this down, pushing pretty hard, trying to get that paint to blend down. You notice as I move the paint away, it gets a little bit lighter up there because it's thinning out. All right? You don't need a lot of paint at all. I need a little bit more. I'm a little bit shy here. And you don't have to have a perfectly straight line either. Just bring that on out. Pushing hard with a stiff brush just to get the paint on there. All right. Now I'm about a quarter of the way down to my light sky. I'm going to change color. And I'm going to put in, down here, the medium blue that I kind of mixed up. And I mixed that just by simply adding white to the cobalt blue that I started with. You notice I'm not really trying to touch the two colors either, am I? Okay, just throwing them in there. You need enough paint on there. Color it in. Now I'm going to kind of blend these together. Scrub, 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 scrub. If I don't have enough, I can always add more paint. It's really hard to take the paint off. Which I probably need to add a little bit more in here because you can tell there's hardly any paint there at all. Let's add a little bit more. Scrub it. It does not need to blend exactly in a line. All right? Just a general line will work. Keep on scrubbing it till everything's covered. Whew, it's hard on my hand. Working up some muscle. Okay. It's a little bit rough, but that's okay. Right now, we don't really care how rough it looks. We just want to get the color going. Now I'm pushing a little bit lighter and I'm just doing a little soft blend. I do need to put some more paint in a certain few areas here because the white canvas is showing through. So let me go in with a little bit more light. Going a little bit more dark. Okay, that takes care of that a little bit. Now we're going to go in with the lightest blue and do the same thing right in here. I'm going to bring this down just a little bit more. And again, I'm going to blend the same way by just scrubbing that paint together. Now before I go on and finish this part of it, I'm going to teach you a little trick. Okay? Let's talk clouds for 2 seconds. When you go out and you look at the clouds, of course you see that the clouds farther away are smaller and the clouds closer away are bigger. But do you ever pay attention to the light and the darkness of those clouds? All right? Let's talk about that. When your clouds are close to you, they're going to be more distinctive. You'll have more detail. You'll have brighter colors. You'll have more contrast. As you move your clouds away, they need to come closer to the color of your sky. All right? So you take either one. I would take this, and I would add more white to this, right? Just enough to get it a little bit lighter than what's there. Do not paint with straight white to make clouds. You don't want to do that. That's not going to make you the kind of clouds you want. I got my garbage can, I forgot it. Okay, now I have something to throw my towels in. So I'm going to start with some clouds in the background now, and I'm going to switch brushes. This is just a little angle brush. It's a little bit softer. It's a Taklon. And I'm going to bring in just some stuff lightly, very thin, just a little bit lighter than what's already there. And hopefully you can see them because this is very subtle. It's not like you're going to get a lot of attention with these. But you're going to add a little bit of interest to your sky. I'm going to bring this down a little bit. So it's another lighter color in my sky. And because I'm using a softer brush, that means more paint is going on the canvas. Alright? Be aware of that. The softer your brush, the more that paint's going to go on your canvas. Because you're not scrubbing it away like you do normally. Right? And I'm going to throw just a few little bits and pieces down in here. Now, here's where it's going to really blow your mind. Instead of painting white for the clouds that are close, I'm going to take my original blue up here in the sky, and at the top, I'm adding the original blue, undiluted, and because the paint underneath was thin, it looks like I'm creating clouds. It's suddenly darker and we have lighter stuff here. So you can come down like this, bring in a little bit of dark, all the way down. Kind of draw whatever clouds you think you might want to have in here, whether they're going to be fluffy. I don't know the types of clouds. I have heard the word cirrus, but I don't know which kind of cloud that is. You know, so I paint what I want to see. I just keep bringing that dark because it's dark up here, so I need to have, unless I have light source over here, I need to bring it over here. Just a little. Now as we get lighter, let me see if we're light enough for me to add the medium here. It's still probably too light. Yeah, it's not distinguishing itself too much from the other color yet. So we'll stick with the darker one. Maybe I should make one that's a little bit lighter than that for here, down in here. Or it's still darker than this, but not as dark as that. So I'm kind of mixing the two colors together. I want this to be a little bit darker in here. You should start seeing some shapes coming out. And all we're doing here now is just shapes. We're not trying to do anything fancy. And I feel like I need a cloud over here. And so I'm just putting the dark sky in, bits and pieces. And the less dark I use, the less dark it is, right? It can be just a little smidge of color change. Now these clouds up here are going to have to be bigger than these clouds in the middle. So we start flattening them, okay? We make them smaller. Just kind of throw them in there. We're basically drawing with paint and using the color to create some distinctive changes. Back off, look at it a little bit, see what's going on. Now I've got a kind of sort of mixed a color that's in between my dark and my medium, and that's what I'm using down here. I'm going to have just some lines kind of going through. The bottoms of the clouds are, especially those off in the distance, are usually pretty flat. Going straight across. You get your direction and your interest from the middle and the top. So these are all just kind of sitting there. All right, we have some basic shapes that we will enhance as we go. For example, I'm going to take a little bit of the lightest color and just start popping in here. I will probably add a little bit of white to it later, but it won't be pure white. Okay, now down in here, I kind of want to make it look like the sun is setting a little bit. So that's where we get into our yellow. All right, so I'm going to take a clean brush, and I have to mix some light yellow for right against my horizon line. It should be very, very light. I need more white. And as it moves up into the sky, it gets deeper. If you ever watch the sky, you'll see it. I think I just threw my cap in my trash can. I have to There it is. Okay. So I'm mixing, it's basically an off-white. Taking the white, adding a touch of the lighter yellow that I have mixed here, and just taking the edge off the white. Save your pure colors for your final touches. Don't use them in the basics. So here I am. That's probably going to end up darker because it's on the edge. You want your lighter colors in the middle and get darker towards the edge. Just to help keep the eye where you want the eye. So we're just going to put in a little bit of yellow here. Okay. Now I'm going to go to a little bit deeper yellow, right above it. And by the way, you can have clouds in this part too if you want. All right. Makes sense if there's clouds in the rest of the sky, there's going to be clouds in here too. Are those clouds going to be light blue? No. They're going to be different varieties of yellow, maybe a little orange as it gets farther away. Keep that in mind. Okay, now if I want to highlight this and say, okay, my sun is going to be there, I'm going to go back to my lightest one and just kind of create a little area that's really solid. Okay, now, you want to avoid the green, get the yellow as close to the blue as you can. Just don't touch it. Don't touch it. Get it close. It's kind of tough with this little blue streak in there, isn't it? Add a little bit of more paint here. Kind of looks like a paint by number. All right. With a clean brush and a soft brush, not a hard brush. Dab it. Just kind of dab it until it touches, each color touches the other. Don't push hard, push very light. You're just blending them together. And I'm going sideways because that's where the line is. If I went like that, I'd be pushing those colors into each other. I don't want to do that. At least not too much, not yet anyway. I might later on, but not yet. And I'm barely touching the canvas with my brush. Okay. Now, I can go up and kind of soften those areas where I see canvas peeping through with the soft brush. That also allows it to blend in without changing too much. Now, if I decide that I want to push something through, I come out from the blue and I push through. And that's going to create these little yellow clouds by pushing a little bit. And yes, it does get a little bit green if you're not careful. Just push a little bit. And let's take the lightest blue. Just kind of toss them in there. Nice and soft. And it breaks up that yellow. No, it's not this little horseshoe looking thing there. And you create yellowish clouds that you can then later on define just a little bit more if you choose to. You don't have to. I've got my sunlight thing going in there, so here, this is where it gets fun. This is where, again, with a clean brush, I'm going to bring in some reds so that I can create that orange glow that we often see in the sky. I'm adding my alizarin crimson to some yellow to create a little bit of orange. And I don't like adding white to it, so I go to my yellow mix that I've added white to, and that stops it from getting too peachy. If you add too much white, it just gets peachy. Start getting skin colors. Okay, so now I've got a tiny brush because I really don't want a whole heck of a lot of paint. I'm just kind of drawing in here, creating a little bit of lines. And I'm kind of going to the underside of the clouds right now. Helping to create those lines. That will all get blended down. This brush here is actually kind of stiff. It's normally a very small, soft brush, but I'm kind of using it like a pen. It has paint that dried on it that I could never get clean, so I saved it as my drawing pen. I never kind of just throw stuff out. There's always going to be a use for it. I'm just kind of roughing this up because these clouds don't have distinct lines. Right? They're so far in the distance you really can't see that kind of stuff. You see a little bit of color changing. That's pretty much it. Might have to get another brush to blend these because this one's not doing that well. But I'm creating some undercurrent to the clouds, adding a little bit of depth to them. And what's interesting is I can use this same color up here as well and start creating some undercolor for my other clouds. Alright, so let me go back in here, get my little soft brush, and slowly just dab these. I wiped the paint off, but I did not clean the brush. I very rarely clean my brushes until I'm done with the painting. I just wipe off the paint. If I absolutely need a new fresh clean brush, I get a fresh clean brush. Now see, these are getting a little bit more indistinct, which is what I want. I want the color there, but I don't necessarily need anything to be. Alright, now I'm going to go up here a little bit. These colors are already here. We can start enhancing them. But you can almost see already how this looks like it's pretty far in the distance. Alright? And what we do here, go back to my other paintbrush that I was using before, and we can start shaping these a little bit more. When you shape clouds, don't do this. Right? You don't want hard edge clouds. Kind of take your brush and push up with it so you get these rough little edges, and then kind of wipe down. I'm going to take some white just to show you it. Alright, let's say I wanted this to have a little white edge. You just kind of push up and create these little peaks. Not something I would normally do right now, right? And I'm putting it on wet paint, which means it's going to blend in, right? Which is one of the reasons I can get away with it right now. And if you want depth in your cloud, put some in the middle. Clouds are not flat, right? Put some in the middle. There you go. And you'll see what I'm talking about. Hopefully you can see that. I can't see what the camera's seeing, so we're just guessing. All right, so you just start taking your paint, and these clouds can be a little bit bigger than those clouds. You get some peaks and valleys in them. And what you want to do is where you have dark, that's where you want to kind of push your paint against that dark. That'll help it show up. Contrast is the name of the game. All right? Where you want sky to show through, let the sky show through. Just don't paint there. Just blend it in nice and soft, like I did with this, with a nice soft brush when you're done. If you don't want to add any more cloud. So these clouds are going to have multi-layers. You'll see cloud, darker sky in between. I almost kind of want to add a little bit more white to it. Let's see what I have here. Get it a little bit lighter than it is. Right in here. So it shows up a little more. And you can have clouds on top of clouds too. Just remember, the farther up you go, the closer they're getting. So don't put these clouds on top of those clouds. Those clouds are on top of these clouds. Make sure you remember that. So the bottom of this cloud will cut off the other clouds. All right? So if we take some of that orange, I'm putting it on the wrong brush, but oh well, and put that in here, just kind of tap it in. All right? Remember, bottoms of the clouds are pretty flat. Even though I have a peak here from a cloud, if I do this, and push this in front, I'm now pushing that cloud back. So it becomes much more 3D. Push that down into there. Push that out that way. You want to layer your clouds as much as you can. It makes it so much more interesting. If you have clouds on top of clouds, unless you only have a couple clouds in the sky to begin with. Okay, I accidentally brought my brush down in here, so we're just going to blend that out. We blend that into the top of that cloud. Start pushing that away. And we can bring in some more of these. It's almost like doing mountains, all right? Just remember, they're nice and soft. You don't see sharp edges, especially far away. Okay, now if I want to bring in, let's say I want this cloud here, I'll bring this one in. A little bit of orange. Start with the bottom of that cloud. And now I'm going to make some purple. All right. If you want storm clouds, you take your alizarin crimson and you add your blue to it and you mix it up. Alizarin crimson is pretty, it looks almost black. All right, so now I'm going to separate it out and add some white. Once again, I got to dig into my white. think it needs a little bit more blue. Need it to be a little bit tinted on the blue side, not on the red side. Okay, that looks better. Now what's really weird, you're going to think I'm crazy, I'm going to add a touch of yellow, which will brown it up a little bit. Almost makes it gray. Okay, now that's going to be more from the bottom of my clouds. Which brush am I using? This one. So I'm going to take some of this mixture. And I'm going to add it to the bottom of my cloud, right above my orange. Boy, that would make some very cool mountains if I wanted to put mountains in there. Clouds down below it. Whew, I'd love that. But we're not doing that today. We're dealing with skies. Right. Now I need my soft brush. Blend this in. Tap it in. Get rid of those distinctive lines. Okay, now I can add some more light blue up in here. And you notice how this is the same light blue that I used down here, but it shows up a lot more because of the darkness up here. Just so you understand that. And I'm going to bring this cloud down in here. Kind of going around in circles a little bit, letting that fade out on that side. Keep the distinctive blending going on here. This, of course, is too bright because it's brighter than that. So we have to damp that down because it makes it look like it's too close, all right? We could actually make that look like it's all one cloud. Kind of like that too. But I want to put in some dark in here. And we'll go in for a little bit of light. Mix your darks and lights in your clouds and they'll have so much more dimension than if you just paint solidly. Part of me wants to do this back in here. Let me just darken this up at the very bottom. Now this is just one color scheme, right? This is a typical North America sky. Can even bring some of this down in here, just to break a few things up down here. And the only reason I can do this and get away with it is because I'm barely touching the canvas and there's hardly any paint on there, which makes it so much easier to layer another color on without causing mud. I used to make mud all the time when I was young, when I was first learning. Man, I would get so frustrated, I'd throw stuff away, and it just irritated the heck out of me. All right, basically our time is up for today, but I'm going to keep painting off camera, and I will post it, you know, maybe in the middle of the week, just so you can kind of see what the finishing look looks like. But that's basically how you want to create a sky, blending it into another color and then putting some clouds into it. You don't have to draw it in advance. That's the wonderful thing about it. You can just play. And the more you play, the more interesting a result you'll get. These are kind of like rain clouds because I'm getting the purple down on them. If you want fluffy summer clouds, just use lighter colors. All right, you still want to put a little dark stuff on them to create depth, but vary your shades, make them lighter, and allow the clouds to have dimension. I'm going to put a little bit of the purple blend right in here to help distinguish this little batch from that little batch. Now that I'm started, I really don't want to stop, but I don't want to make this long because it's supposed to be quick tips. I'm way over my time. It's hard to do this without showing you everything. Okay, so stopping now. If you understand, you have to go light to dark. And if you're going to add yellow, don't touch the two colors. Bring your brush into yellow to blend as lightly as you can. Use very little paint. I did not use any linseed or medium to thin these paints. I just put very little paint on and brushed hard to get the paint on, and then used a softer brush using very little paint again to paint on top. So keep that in mind. You don't have to add a lot of medium to your paint to get it soft. It's not necessary. All right? And then when you see it next time, you'll see more clouds up in here, and they'll be even more distinct and bigger than these. Okay? So, thanks for watching, and we will talk to you later. I'm not even going to clean these too good because I know I'm going to keep painting after I shut this thing down. Have a good night.